Hello there. I hope I don't offend people, but I was talking to someone the other day and they got quite heated about the whole idea of flat earthers, people who believe the earth is flat. And they asked a really good question, which was, do I think that people are genuinely getting more stupid than they used to be? And that is an interesting question because, stupid though this sounds, there's quite a lot of research on stupidity, and sad people like me will read this kind of thing. And one of the common themes is that stupidity, it's almost like a definition. Stupidity is a tendency or a willingness or a vulnerability to believe things and act on things that are factually incorrect. Now that's different from ignorance. If you don't know and you're doing something and it's completely ridiculous and it's not aligned with factual information, that's not stupidity. That's ignorance. So it's when you know it, you're presented with the evidence and all this kind of stuff, and you still believe it or you still do stuff. And that's quite a nice definition of stupidity. But the rather worrying thing, of course, is that the question then becomes, are there more people in the world who believe things and act on things that are clearly factually incorrect? And the answer is yes. So in that way, people are getting more stupid, I guess. Now, it's important, before I sound like some old bloke ranting about young people today, right, is to look at my kind of early years and growing up as opposed to people today. So firstly, there were very few sources of information, certainly less than there are today. They weren't delivered in the kind of sophisticated ways that information is delivered today. They weren't so easy to access. They weren't continually going on. They didn't have software that, if I showed a little bit of interest in something, would direct me to more information that confirmed it. There wasn't, you didn't get connected automatically to people who believe the same thing as you do. And so there's a lot more information. There's a lot more opportunity. It's much easier to access people with nonsense. And there's lots of sophisticated algorithms that reinforce things that maybe you're just kind of thinking a little bit might be true. And before you know where you are, you live in a world where, of course, it's true. And so it's a very different environment. So the question is, actually, the answer to the question is, are people more stupid, is probably yes. The answer to the question, what do we do about it, is I don't know. I mean, obviously, as adults and parents, we can try and make younger people aware of this, but there's something rather sad and depressing that we have to bring a generation of kids up to believe, and to know, in fact, that there's an awful lot of people out there who will lie to them and do it deliberately, either for financial benefit or, to get a sense of fame or something, get more likes and things on YouTube or X or whatever. But it is worrying. But I just want to give you an example because it puts a bit more subtlety around this whole idea of stupidity. So some people will get their knickers in a twist about this, but it is a good example. A few weeks ago, I was watching the spokesperson for the President of the United States. So this is a really significant person in the world of information, and you'd hope that you could rely on that to be accurate. And she stood up in front of a load of press media and said that tariffs were a tax on overseas countries and a tax cut for American citizens, which is factually incorrect, simple as that. Now, surprisingly, one of the people in the media actually challenged it and said, have you ever kind of paid tariffs? Because I have. He was obviously a business person in the past or something. And he said, when it comes in, the shipping company send you a bill, which includes the tariff, and you have to pay for it. So the importer in America pays the tariff. Clear? Absolutely. Her reaction to that was to get really angry and accuse the guy of, challenging her knowledge of tariffs and this kind of stuff. What happened then? Nothing. She just pointed at someone else who asked a question, and on we went. So we can't rely on the media to really get in there and say, oh, whoa, Connor, that's not correct. That's factually incorrect. You need to correct that right now. And so, the environment is just really challenging. And I'm quite concerned about young people and their vulnerability. So, be interested to hear your thoughts.